I'm Lauren DeStefano, and I am the author of The Unicorn Came to Dinner.
Hi, I'm Gaia Cornwall, and I'm the illustrator.
The unicorn came to dinner. The unicorn came to dinner. Again. She smelled nice, but she was very rude. She never waited for an invitation. She tracked hoof prints on the carpet after it had just been vacuumed. The hoof prints were shaped like hearts, but that was beside the point. The unicorn stomped into the kitchen. She sat in Elizabeth's chair. It was a small chair, and unicorn butts are pretty large. Is the unicorn here again? Dad asked, looking up from the pot of freshly boiled carrots. Where is Elizabeth? Nay, nay, the unicorn said. This meant I ate her in unicorn talk. You ate our Elizabeth, Mom said. That's a shame. She set the chicken on the table. Would you like some carrots? Dad asked. Nay, nay, the unicorn said. This meant I hate carrots. Then she knocked over the butter dish with her horn. Unicorns have terrible manners, Mom said. After dinner, the unicorn stomped upstairs to do Elizabeth's homework. It was the least she could do, given that she had eaten her. The unicorn was an exceptional speller and can count to 100, but it was well known that she struggled with subtraction. Unicorns are also quite tall, and their horns are quite long, which makes sitting at a desk hard, but she managed. The unicorn took a bubble bath before bedtime and splashed water everywhere. Mom closed her eyes and counted to 5. Then she dried the unicorn's mane with Elizabeth's favorite towel. It's bedtime, Mom said. Nay, nay, the unicorn said. This meant 5 more minutes. Nay, Mom said, which meant no. The unicorn felt very silly wearing Elizabeth's pajamas, but she put them on, clip-clopped into bed, and waited to be kissed goodnight. Dad came to the doorway. Is the unicorn still in the house? He asked. Nay, the unicorn said. That's too bad. Dad pulled the chair from Elizabeth's desk and sat. I never expected to see a unicorn so many times in 1 week. This is the 4th time you've come over for dinner. The unicorn hugged Elizabeth's teddy bear. The teddy bear had been waiting on the bed where Elizabeth always left it. The first week of school can be scary, Dad said, but unicorns aren't scared of school, are they? Nay, the unicorn said. If you see Elizabeth, tell her that we miss her very much, Dad said. Tell her that I made her favorite jelly sandwiches, but I don't know if a unicorn can open a lunchbox. It's true that unicorns aren't scared of school. And it's also true that unicorn hooves aren't meant for opening things. But the lunchbox had a handle that fit perfectly in Elizabeth's hand. Unicorns can't jump off the diving board either, or play basketball at recess. But Elizabeth can. Good night, unicorn, Dad said, and turned off the light. Good night, Mom and Dad, said Elizabeth.
Yay! Okay, now we're gonna do a little bit of drawing, and I thought it'd be fun to learn how to draw a unicorn since it's pretty tricky to draw a horse. And yeah, I thought people would like to do that. So depending on how fancy you want to get, you really only need a pencil. Whoop, I just dropped my pen. You just need a pencil. This is what I usually start all my illustrations with, a regular pencil. And this one has one of these things on it because my one of my kids is practicing their handwriting, and any piece of paper. But if you want to get a little bit fancy, you can use a pencil and then something darker, like either a darker colored pencil or marker. And then if you want, you can do all sorts of colors because maybe your unicorn is really colorful. So let me grab my marker that just fell. I'm going to use a light colored marker right here first. And then I'm going to use this whiteboard to draw on. Okay, so we're going to start with the head first. And the way I do it is I make kind of a circle like that. And then I do another circle pretty close. That's going to be the nose part, the muzzle. And so then from the top of that little circle to the top of this circle, you're going to make a line like that. And then if you see the bottom of the little circle, you're not going to make the line from there. You're going to make it from there. So right like that. And then we're going to draw the neck. Let's see. Kind of comes down like that. And then we're going to do the body. So I make a big circle that connects to the neck, and then make another big circle over here. And all these shapes are kind of your guide, and we can get rid of them later or color over them later. Actually, I'm going to make that one a little bit bigger because usually the back part is a little bit bigger. There we go. And then you connect those two big circles at the top and then connect them at the bottom. There you go. Is everybody with me? So now we're going to do some legs. So I'm going to do pretty simple legs in the front. I'm going to do upside down triangles, and I like to do smaller ones in the front. Can you see? And then bigger ones in the back. So they're pretty skinny in the front. And then I'm going to make them a little wider in the back because their back legs are bigger. 1, 2. All right, and then we need some ears. And the way I like to do ears is start at the head again, like right there, and just do a straight line up and then a curve around. And if you want, you can do another one right there. There we go. So, okay, so if you're gonna be fancy, a little bit fancy, get your darker color marker or crayon or whatever you're using, or you can just use the same one. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna just quickly outline with my darker color all these shapes that we made. There we go. Like that. I'm gonna do the ears. And then I think I have a couple more legs. 1, 2. Okay, and so depending on what you use, if you want, you can just erase the inside, or later on you can color over it. But using those shapes is a really good way to make, like, use those shapes to make as a guide to make tricky shapes. Like horses are pretty tricky. And that, when I always use those circles to make the horse shape. So now you can do like the hair. So let's see, I like to give them bangs because I have bangs. And I think unicorns, it's up to you, but your unicorn could have really long hair, a really big mane. You should definitely color it at some point. And they also need a tail. Ooh. And this unicorn in this book, I don't know if you noticed, but their tail and their mane is super long. And then I like to give them some hooves. And just do some little, make this darker down here. Just like that. And then let's give them an eye. And then horse noses are kind of long like that. And if you want, you could do a smile or something. So we're almost done. And you might notice that we're missing something because right now we have a horse, but we were going to draw a unicorn. So we need to draw the horn. Don't forget the horn. There we go. I like to put it right there. Just like that. And now, can you see it? Now you can color it in. And I did like to do a pattern on my unicorn. She has lots of different patterns on her. And I did a pattern in the mane and in the tail. And you could do some stripes up here. And I'm gonna put this on my website because I know it is very tricky. Horses are so hard and unicorns are so hard. So I'll put this on my website if you forget, so you can check it up there. But I can't wait to see what all your unicorns look like. I would love it if you sent them over to us. I know Lauren would love to see them too. All right, that's it. I think we're gonna answer some questions now.
That looks beautiful. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. I've always seen the drawings with the different shapes inside, and I've never really understood how or why that works, but now I feel like I can draw a unicorn.
It's our illustrator trick.
And green is my favorite color, so I was wondering.
Oh,
perfect. It's my seasonal color right now. It's all I'm wearing, except for gray. But hi everyone, my name is Madison. I work for Macmillan Children's Publishing Group, and I just wanted to jump in to ask some questions. So Lauren, to start with you, how did you become an author?
So I always wanted to be a writer before I actually knew how to spell or write when I was very, very young. And something I used to do is I used to make up stories in my head. And then when I got a little bit older, I started writing them down. And when I was in the 5th grade, we had to write a 1-page short story. And this was the first creative writing assignment I'd ever been given in my life. And I wrote 5 pages front and back. And my teacher said to me, you should consider being a writer. And that was the first time in my life I ever saw that as something I could do, not just for fun. And from that day forward, that became my goal in life. And so when I was in college, I studied English. I wanted to write a book. As soon as I graduated, that was the fast track I was on. And I've been very lucky and very happy that imagination gets to be my job.
That's awesome. So with this book specifically, was there anything that like sparked your idea for The Unicorn Came to Dinner? Like, how did you come up with the idea?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I used to have a lot of anxiety about new things. I think that's really common. New day, first day of school, new town, new home. And something that always got me through that experience was imagination. And I really wanted to show kids that it's okay to be anxious and it's okay to find creative ways to make yourself feel better.
I love that. And so for you, Gaia, how did you become an illustrator?
I have been kind of similar to Lauren. I've been drawing on like anything I could get my hands on ever since I can remember. And I loved picture books. Like I have really strong memories of just like going to the library and being very particular about like which illustrations I liked and which ones I wasn't going to bother with. So I was, a critic, a harsh critic. And I'm living up to her. I'm trying to. So it kind of a roundabout path. I was an animator and I worked in film, and then I made Jabari Jumps. That was my first book, and it got published, and yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so great when you can pursue your passions like that.
I know. Really lucky.
Yeah, for sure. So for this book specifically, did you have any influences when doing the art? I know that my favorite spread is where the unicorn is surrounded by friends and it says all are welcome and she's accepted at school. So was there anything that you had in mind when drawing that specifically, or was it just all you?
Yeah, no, actually for that spread, most of those kids I know.
Oh,
in
wow.
my life. So that's been fun to kind of like give the book out and point them out to people. And then actually when I very first read it, I don't even know if you know this, Lauren, the first spread I came up with was the dinner scene. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this book because I want to do that drawing of the unicorn in the middle with the butter on her horn. And I knew also right away that I wanted the unicorn to be like really big and like a Clydesdale, like, you know, those horses that are just like not dinosaur size, but you know, they're huge. And so yeah, one of my inspirations, I was like looking at a lot of old animation from the like 70s and 80s. Like I'm trying to think of some of the horses. They're all like really big. Like there's one in 101 Dalmatians. There's one in Sleeping Beauty. And then there's some newer ones too, like Entangled and Brave. They're just like these great horse characters that aren't dainty at all. They're like have big opinions and personalities.
Amazing.
And yeah, so it was really fun to like get to look at all those, and it was work. It was fun.
I love it. That's awesome.
One of my favorite things was how big the unicorn was too. I love it. Took it from the page.
Yeah. Yeah, it just she's massive, especially at the dinner table and in the bathtub. It really does bring out the humor even more. It's fantastic.
And I thought that worked too for like feelings.
Big feelings.
Yeah, because like especially anxiety when you're worried, it feels huge. Like it takes up the whole room. And so yeah, exactly. So that to my next question actually is like, what do you hope kids get out of this book? And this is for both of you.
Well, I think, and I said this a little bit earlier, but what I would really love is that they understand that it's okay to be anxious, it's okay to be worried, and that sometimes imagination can really help you find creative ways around it.
Yeah, I think the same. And I hope that the book is like a good jumping off point for parents and caregivers to like start talking about these big feelings, especially now. I think everyone's has a certain level of anxiety. And the more I think we talk about it with kids and show them how to process these feelings, the better.
Yeah, I love that. And I know for Elizabeth, her main source of feeling better is playing pretend and pretending to be something that she's not, a unicorn. And I know that there are a lot of things that I do when I get stressed and worried about things. So I was wondering if there's anything specific, kind of like pretending to be a unicorn, that you do when you are worried or anxious about anything.
When I am really anxious, the best thing I turn to is anything that's creative. And a lot of the time that's writing or doing arts and crafts or crocheting, knitting, really anything that allows me to keep my mind busy, and then I create something brand new, and then I eventually get so excited about making something new that the anxiety feels a lot better.
Yeah, and I think for me, I talk to kids a lot about like being brave and what that means and how to deal with being scared, and a couple things like tools we come up with, because sometimes like going to school, it's something you have to do. Sometimes it's an option. Like if you're feeling scared, you don't have to do it right away. But sometimes if you're feeling anxious, it is something you have to do. And so kind of similar to this book, like a technique that I talk to kids about is like pretending you're a superhero or a unicorn or something that's very powerful. And I think that's a really helpful tool. And I actually definitely have done that in my life. I'm really scared of getting shots. And ironically, now I have to give myself shots. And that was really terrifying. But like one of the things I did was I thought of like every action hero, heroine that I really love and who's like really strong. And I just pictured them doing it. And I was like, they would have no problem giving themselves a shot. It would be fine. Or like Wonder Woman or Catwoman or whoever it was. And then the other thing is listening to music can really help me like get pumped up, and kind of if I start moving, I can like literally like it feels like I'm getting the feelings out of my body. And yeah, that helps me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know it's like scientifically proven that if you stand like Superman, that helps you. It's a power pose. Everybody stand like Superman and you'll feel better about everything. Your anxiety, you'll feel the stress leave your body.
Definitely gonna try that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. You can also do the whole like sitting with your legs on a table with your arms back kind of thing. That's my favorite power pose. Exactly. Take up as much space as possible. You'll be like a superhero. I love that. So of course, since we're all book people here, what are some of your favorite children's books?
So I grew up on some older books. My favorite book of all time in my entire childhood was Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, which if you haven't read, I cannot recommend enough. And I also was really big on rhyming books when I was younger. So anything by Shel Silverstein. for example, because it had a way of making the world make sense in a way that children and adults and anyone in between can really feel. And they're silly. So they take a kind of an everyday situation and a serious topic, and they make sense of it with rhyming, and then you remember them. And another favorite of mine was Harold and the Purple Crayon, which is about a little boy who just has a crayon and he makes a whole world just one line at a time, finding his way back home. And that's something that I always really related to just when I was little, and even now.
That's awesome. Gaia, do you have any favorites?
So it's so hard to pick a favorite, but I have some current ones that I'm really loving. Since it's around Halloween, came out a few years ago, but Zombies Don't Eat Veggies is really, really super fun book by Jorge and Megan Lacera. And then I've also been really loving No Voice Too Small, illustrated by Jeanette Bradley, and it's written by, it has all these different poems in it by different authors, but it's profiling kids who are activists, and it's really powerful, and it's been inspiring to read, especially now.
I love that. That's awesome. And then last one, but I know asking for recommendations is tough, so if you don't have any, that's totally fine. But do you have any recommendations for other books that kids can read when they are feeling worried about stuff like going to school or starting something new?
I would love to let Gaia take the lead here, because she always posts the most wonderful books on Instagram, and then I end up reblogging all of them.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I feel like I get a lot of those from the Tutu Teacher and Here We Read. They're both really great resources for new books. And off the top of my head, Me and My Fear is a really beautiful one. And she has a new one out, and I'm blanking on what the name is, but her books are amazing. And then I know I can think of more. Jabari Jumps, which I made, is another one that actually fits perfectly. Yeah, there's a lot. And I think using picture books to talk about stuff like this, like I said before, is just like a great use of picture books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to do this. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.